How to Create a Box, Method 1 by Joe Cerrone. In this method, what we're going to do is we're going to create a box, and we're going to create this box to be 3 inches by 3 inches using a rectangle. And then what we'll do is we'll extrude that rectangle 3 inches tall. We'll shell that, and we'll shell it so that the top part of it is removed from the shell feature, and we'll set a wall thickness to 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll create the cover for the box by making it slightly bigger. And so we'll take our 3 inch by 3 inch geometry and we'll offset that at 1/32 of an inch. And that'll give us enough clearance so that we can get the cover on it. And then what we'll do is we'll offset that geometry another 1/8 of an inch. And so the overall size of that will be 3.3140. Now I think I'll put that on as a dimension real quick. Once we have that shape, what we'll do is we'll extrude that and we'll shell it with a 1/8 inch wall. All right, so let's get started and we'll see how that looks. And then, well, lastly, what we can do is we can flip it over and add a logo for bonus points. So to start off with, what we'll do is we'll go into D2L and we'll get our B-size mechanical title block, and we're going to draw this one in inch units. And so we'll download that, we'll open that, and then we'll go to model space. I'm going to go to my workspace and set that to drafting and annotation. I'm going to put on my grid and my snap, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle. In that rectangle, I'm going to put the first corner right here, and then I'm going to specify the length of it. So I'm going to select the dimensions. You can also hit the down arrow, select dimensions, and we'll say 3, enter, 3, enter. And then we can orientate that how we would like it. And so if I click on that and hover over the grips, we can see that it's 3 inches by 3 inches. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take an isometric view of that. And so I'm going to go and switch from top view to southeast isometric. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it. And what you can do to extrude this is you can switch over to a 3D modeling workspace. And then we can say extrude. We'll select that shape. We'll hit enter. And then we'll extrude that 3 inches tall. I'm going to hold the shift in the middle mouse wheel just to kind of take it off of that perspective so it's easier to view. And then I'm going to take a look at that in conceptual. You can see now it's a 3 inch by 3 inch cube. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use, under the solids tab, we're going to use the shell command. And so we're going to say shell, we're going to select the 3D object, and then we're going to select the top as a face to remove and hit enter. The distance for the offset will be 0.125, and we'll hit enter and we'll say exit. All right, so that's how to create the shell command for creating the box. If I hold shift in the middle mouse wheel, I can take a look at that and see how that's all set up. Now to do the top of it, what we're going to do is we're going to create a 3 inch by 3 inch rectangle. We're going to offset that at 1/32 of an inch. Sorry, my voice is kind of parched. So as we go through, we're going to again switch to a top view. So I'm going to get out of conceptual, I'll go to 2D wireframe. I'll go to top view. And then we're just going to do the same technique again, but we're going to offset so that we have a clearance. And so I'm going to go back to 2D workspace. I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I think I'll use a different color. I'll just go on this purple layer for text. Rectangle. Down arrow. Dimensions. 3 inches. 3 inches. And then we'll orientate that like that. And then what we'll do is we'll offset that 1/32 so that we have some clearance. So we'll say offset 1/32. Select the geometry and offset that to the outside. Make sure it goes to the outside so that it's bigger. If you click on it and you hover over it, you'll see that it's now 3.0625. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to offset this an additional 1/8 of an inch. So we'll say offset 0.125, enter, and then again, make sure that it goes to the outside so that it's bigger. All right, and so now we have the geometry for that. And what we can do is I'm just going to copy it. We could use the original geometry if we want to, but it's just visually better this way. So I'm going to just move it over here to the side. Hit escape. Grab an isometric view. Southeast isometric seems to be the one that I'm always choosing. And then what I'll do is I'll extrude that. And I think we'll extrude that 3/8 of an inch. And so we'll go back over to a 3-dimensional workspace. We'll say extrude. We'll select that. Hit enter. And go up. Let's do that with conceptual on. Extrude. Same technique. Select it. Go up. 0.375. Enter. And then what we'll do is we'll shell this again with a 1/8 inch wall thickness. And since this is slightly bigger, we should have a clearance for it. And so we'll go over to our solids tab. We'll select shell. We'll select our rectangle. We'll remove the top face. We'll hit enter. And we'll say 0.125. Enter. And exit. All right. And then what we can do is if we want to, we can move this over to the other location and take a look at how we're going to assemble this. And so I'm going to go back to 2D wireframe. I'm going to move it. And so here we have our box and our top. And then what we can do is we can 3D rotate this one and flip it over. And so we can say 3D rotate. If we go back to our 3D modeling, rotate gizmo. And if you use the ortho, you don't have to worry about it getting off of 90 degrees. And so I'll just flip it over like that and hit escape. And then we can go ahead and export these as STL files. And so I can go in here and I can go to Big Red A and I can say, let's do a save as first. And we'll save this as small box 3x3. I'm going to call this V2. Now that we have the geometry, what we can do is export that. So we'll say export, other file formats, and we'll export that as an STL. And then we'll do the same thing for the top. We'll name it top. Hit enter. And then what we can do is we can bring that into 3D Builder to go ahead and add some customized text to it. So we can go to 3D Builder. Before we go to 3D Builder, let's go ahead and put this on a title block page. So we flip over to the title block, double click in the viewport, say Z for zoom, A for all, and then we can show our box. I'm turning the wheel on the mouse, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the menu bar and set that view up southeast isometric. There we are. View, visual style, conceptual. Edit the title block. Call this lab number 8. Place your student name on here. And we'll save this drawing again as our 3x3 box. And this way we have the title block on it and it frames everything. All right, so that completes how to create the geometry for a 3x3 box. We can also do some other interesting things to it, like add chamfers and fillets, which we'll go over within the class.